Here we are again on September 2nd in Sault Ste Marie, Ontario, outside of the Sault Ste Marie courthouse. And today I have with me
Rosemary Fleury.
And Rosemary has a story that she'd like to share with us.
I'm out here today. I'm supporting everybody. I'm a voice that's here for all of you that can't be here because of fear of CAS and the repercussions on your family. In my own family, my husband has been alienated from his children. He is 22 years alienated in this system. His oldest son is now 22 years old. He found his dad. They are best friends. They have a wonderful relationship. We have another one that is in CAS care right now. They don't approve of our lifestyle. We live a very humble lifestyle. We grow our own food. We're very organic. We don't believe in giving our children drugs. We're not drug pushers. And we feel that there's always an alternative, and medication is to save your life, not to alter your behavior. They are constantly sending us letters on how terribly bad behavior that our son has, and we feel that if we had him where the only person that might understand him is his dad, most of his issues seem to be the same as what his dad has. I don't think he would need the medications. When you can run a mountain, go snowboarding, you can go outside and feed animals and be with nature, I think that really helps more so than dumping drugs down a kid's throat to keep them stable. It's ridiculous. They have introduced him to social workers, CAS workers, a lawyer, 2 lawyers actually, multi amounts of people, but they feel that it is not beneficial to introduce him to his family because they're strangers. But I mean, these outside strangers are fine according to CAS. CAS is not a government-run agency. It is a society of private citizens that feel they have the right to come into our homes and to intimidate us, to lie to us. They have documented that our son is being abused, but they also say because he's a behavioral problem, he's probably lying. Now, I taught my children that if they're being abused, that they can go and tell somebody, but he has told everybody in his circle, and they're not listening to him. He's a small little voice that nobody's listening to. We may never get him home, but you know what? He is going to grow just like our other son, and he will find his dad. He will come home to his family, and then we will help him fix what they are devastating. Everybody that you talk to knows somebody that is affected by CAS. CAS should be abolished.
Yes.
There are children that need protection, and so we need to have a governed agency to protect the children. Children in CAS care, every single day in our city, they are being physically abused, being sexually abused, being emotionally abused. My husband's big thing is they will not let him see his son. They tell him that at a time that he can see his son, I won't be allowed to go with him because I'm a stranger. But I am his stepmom, and so, he has a family that loves him. They are trying to rip a family apart. It's not going to work. We are stronger than CAS. We are stronger. And if anybody out there knows a CAS worker, I would like them to know that it can happen in their family. The difference is CAS will cover it up like all of the other lies that they tell, all the other abuses. They cover it up. They need to take responsibility for their actions. And if you're a worker that is being told by your supervisor to do something, and so you do it and you know it's wrong, then you should be held accountable also. You know, it is ridiculous that for every, we got here this morning at 10:30, and before we had our signs out of the car, we had 4 people stop to tell us their story of how they were abused and raped and have post-traumatic stress syndrome from their experience in foster homes. That's not to say that all foster parents are bad. There are good people out there that really want to help the children. But CAS as a society, like, to me, just the word society is just so scary. Like, who makes their laws? Because they don't abide by the same ones as everybody else. Our son has been locked in his room till he was so frustrated he was punching holes in walls,
And he lives with...
he, as a small child, mom and dad were not together. Jonathan is his name. He got leukemia at a very young age. Mom couldn't look after him due to her own life issues, and instead of CAS helping her, Jonathan was moved in with grandparents who abused him, couldn't look after him, sent him to live with his great aunt and uncle, and after so many years, the great aunt and uncle had no support from CAS to help them through having someone else's child and the frustrations of having a sick child. They would not financially help them, and they were not supportive to the aunt and uncle. So 2 years ago, the aunt and uncle said, you know, I can't do it anymore. We really love him, but we just can't do it anymore. He was bounced around to a couple foster homes. They won't even let his biological father see him. Like, they won't let us see him at all. He now is living with grandparents, back with his grandparents who originally couldn't look after him. We have received letters from CAS with documentation on the abuse from the grandparents. He's being, you know, slapped and grabbed and told, he's been told that he's trash and all kinds of terrible, terrible things. And that's where he is. He's with grandparents that, you know, they're seniors. It's not that they don't want their grandson, they are seniors. He has emotional instabilities. A lot of the same emotional problems he has are quite similar to his father. I think if anybody can help Jonathan, his father is the one that would understand the anger issues, the separation anxiety issues. I think instead of CAS trying to keep this family apart, the two sides, I think they should be working harder on getting the two sides to work together in the best interest of the child instead of in the best interest of the society and, you know, how much money they get for him.
And in a perfect world, if you could have Jonathan come to your house tonight and live with you?
Yes, he most definitely would come home. We know that it would be a struggle. He's been bounced around. He has post-traumatic stress from having leukemia when he was a small child. They have him on numerous medications that are just, to me, it's absurd that they would be giving this child these things. We would definitely work with his doctor to try and get him off these medications, teach him coping skills. You know, they say he's a runner. You got to watch him because when he gets angry, he runs away. Well, where we live, we have 12 acres of mountainside. Like, run. If that's what helps you with your anger, then run it off and you know, that's okay if that's your coping skill. But they don't seem to be, from what we're reading, teaching him coping skills. They're just adding more medications into his little body. When he's 14 or 15 and becomes a drug addict, and then they're going to look down on him for that. They are the ones that have caused him these problems. They're giving him drugs that no child should. Children do not need to be drugged unless it's for life-saving. You know, that's just our belief. They don't agree with that belief. They feel that he should be kept on all these antipsychotic medications and all these,
And he's 10.
He's 10 now, yes.
In school?
And he is in school, and there's not a whole lot that I can tell you about him because they will not let us see him. They have, done everything in their power. They brought up issues from my husband's past from when he was in his 20s.
And how old's your husband now?
He's 45.
And he's out here protesting
Out
right
here
beside
too,
you.
And we support everybody we know right in our own family. And he's devastated. Jonathan is ours. He does not belong to CAS. He is not a ward of anybody. He belongs to us. He has a family. He has a brother that is so excited to meet him. He has stepbrothers and a stepsister. He has nieces and a nephew that, we all talk about Jonathan. Jonathan's spirit is with us at every family dinner, every get-together. Jonathan is part of it. We have things at home so when Jonathan comes home, he has his space.
So he's really loved, and he is really wanted in that home.
He is really loved, and he's really wanted. CAS has asked me a few times, what would you do if Jonathan tried to hit you? Well, I raised 3 sons. I've never pushed a child to the limit of wanting to hit me, but they don't ask him why he gets that angry. I think my first question would be, Jonathan, why are you so angry? What can we do to fix it? They just tell me all the time, well, he has really bad behaviors. I'm sure he does, because if you locked me in my room and you grabbed me by the throat and you took away my dad, and he did up until he was 4 years old, there had been periods of time where he did get to see his dad. And now they're saying, well, he doesn't recognize him. Okay, but you haven't formally, reintroduce, They've done things like my husband was working out at the ski hill. They brought Jonathan out there skiing so that they could pass each other and see if they recognized each other. Well, of course they're not going to. They're all bundled up in snow gear. My husband's working. He's face blind to people, because you're busy. And Jonathan didn't know, why not tell him, Jonathan, put my husband in a lineup and say, Jonathan, do you recognize any of these men as your dad? Put Jonathan in a lineup and say, Lionel, do you recognize any of these children as your son? Or stop making it so difficult and just let Jonathan come home. Stop being control freaks.
Reintroduce Jonathan to his father and
right.
Allow them to have a natural, loving relationship.
I bet you the majority of his anger will go away. He's also alienated from his mom. He has been asked if he knows who they are, and he'll, according to them, he'll say, I know I have a mom and dad, I just don't know who they are. Well, let him know who they are. Even mom. Mom has made a lot of mistakes. She's not, at this point, from our understanding, able to look after Jonathan yet, due to her own life issues. But if Jonathan came home to dad and wanted to see mom, that would totally happen, because Jonathan has rights. CAS really forgets that Jonathan has rights. Children have rights. They alienate more children and more families. They're taking the rights away from our children, and our society is failing as a whole because we don't know how to exercise our rights anymore. CAS makes sure of that. Everybody is afraid to exercise their rights. They're afraid because, if you exercise your rights, you could lose your children. Nicole that's here today, she's exercising her rights and she's afraid that she's going to lose some of her visitation or whatever. Those are threats. CAS is getting away with threatening people with their own children, and it's just very disgusting to me. I think that the society as a whole should be held accountable, and whoever doesn't face criminal charges, because you or I would face criminal charges for the things that they do, if they have followed the rules enough to not face criminal charges in our legal system, then fine. That's the small handful that really is there to help the children. Some children do need help. Jonathan just needs to be reunited with his family, and I think he would be fine. We do just stand firm on the fact that he will come home someday, and we'll help him. We'll do whatever it takes.
Exactly. So if you have any final remarks that you'd like to tie up, if we want to talk about CAS in general in our community of Sault Ste. Marie and Algoma district, how can we make this situation better? What would be the best outcome for the children and for Jonathan and all the children we're here today to talk about?
Yes, because today's definitely not just about Jonathan. Everybody has their story. It's a very sad day when you stop to talk to a person. Every person knows somebody that is having issues with CAS, and that's very sad. I think that the CAS society, as it stands today, should be abolished. And I think that our government, our medical system, our mental health system should come up with a new child protection system. This system that's in place right now is just private citizens that are judging on things they know nothing about. They have workers that have never had children, don't know the frustrations of having children. I do know myself personally of situations where a CAS worker has had issues with her child. Her children aren't taken away. They just brush it under the carpet. They just make it all nice, and I know
the same goes for the wealthy. The wealthy
right.
and the prominent
That's
in this
right.
area, or in all areas of Ontario. Any cases of them are swept under the rug and they're given favoritism.
That's right. And I was raised by a single mom with 8 kids. My father was an alcoholic, but I had good parents. Despite the fact that they had their issues, my father still worked. He was a very functioning alcoholic. He explained alcoholism to me at a very young age so that I knew it wasn't my fault that he was an alcoholic, and sometimes he couldn't be there for me due to his illness. My mom raised her 8 children very poor. In the 60s and 70s, a single mom with 8 children was very poor. I don't ever remember starving. I know we have silly stories of my mom making scones and honey for breakfast, and we thought it was a huge treat, and here it was because it was the day before payday and she had no other groceries. We didn't know that she had no other groceries, and that's the thing. She did the best that she could, and we lived to tell about it. Yet I have a friend in the same situation that was removed and put in foster care so she'd have a better life. She's an emotional, mental wreck. As an adult, she's non-functioning. She can't tell her story because she's still so devastated 25 years later. And I just think the whole system needs to change. I think the society, which to me is just a dirty word, it's like, behind closed doors, secrecy. If there's such a good public service, why aren't they more open and honest?
Exactly.
And I think it just needs to change. And I think as a community, we can do that. And I mean, our community starts in our house, and it's our whole country, the whole planet. We all need to get together. For every drop in the water, the pond gets fuller. Help the children just go home.
Exactly. Help the children get home. Help parents be parents.
That's right.
Stop alienating and funding for foster parents to raise our children.
That's right. And the amounts that they get paid to raise our children, I have 4 children. It didn't cost me that a month for 4 children, let alone 1. It's a cash grab.
Exactly. It's advertised in the jobs section locally in Sault Ste. Marie over the last couple months. If you go onto the internet looking for jobs, you find ads for if you'd like to be a foster parent, as well as on milk cartons. There's been reported ads lately advertising by Children's Aid Society if you would like to be a foster parent, and there's a money to that.
Yes, and another misconception is that they're all social workers, and they're not. They have no real training. Like I said, unless you've had children and lived through an experience with a child with problems, you don't have the right training. And that's why they changed their child protection workers, their social services workers, which they're not again. They may have went to school for that, but it's not a requirement. We were in court one day